heard someone or something singing from a locked and a sealed apartment. Posted by Payush. I'm writing from Hyderabad, India, and I had the unfortunate fate of having to experience this. So I live in a gated community, and the flat apartment opposite to mine is sealed and has been locked for many years. So the other night, I hear someone singing very loud and in a very shrill voice. It was super creepy. I ignored it, thinking it was someone from the adjacent flat. 2 nights passed and this continues. Last night I couldn't hold the urge, so I go and I inspect. Turns out, the voice was coming out of the flat that has been sealed and locked. I panic and run to my home. The next morning I speak to the secretary, and turns out there lived an a cappella singer who'd taken her own life. First post here, please don't be too harsh. Grim Reaper? Posted by Skinny Millie. Slightly long warning. This happened when I was 23. I'm 31 now, living at home with my parents. My mother was in the dying stage of her pretty aggressive breast cancer, and my 2 siblings and I, all around college age, were pretty much her hospice nurses while she lived out her remaining months. The thought of anyone else taking care of her was simply out of the question, as we were a very tight-knit family. Anyway, odd things began to happen those final months. I'll spare all the details, but things like loud taps on windows, noises in the middle of the night, all things that could be written off as just house noises. Until one night, I was sleeping in my bed and randomly woke up around 2 a.m. But this happened to me a lot, so I did what I usually did. Rolled over and checked my phone. I was in the middle of texting a friend when I noticed there was a floating head in the middle of my room. It wasn't staring at me, it was just staring straight ahead. I didn't have my glasses on, but I knew it was a man. I said, "Hello?" And even though I didn't have glasses on, I could see its eyes shift and looked straight at me. Not in a menacing way. I didn't feel like I was in danger. More in a, "Oh, you've seen me" way. Then it slowly flickered out, like a movie projector or something. I screamed so loud I woke the whole house. But that's nothing compared to what happened after about a week later. We would stay up with my mother in shifts during the night, making sure she was comfortable, giving her meds, etc. It was my turn one night. Now keep in mind, at this point the cancer had pretty much destroyed what was left of her brain, and she was pretty infantile, forming words and complete sentences. It was pretty rare, if at all possible, for her. Anyway, she was laying in her at-home hospital bed, while I was sitting in the chair next to her reading aloud one of her favorite books. Then she shot straight up. Her eyes were as clear as they had ever been in a while. But she wasn't looking at me. She was looking behind me. And she said in the clearest voice, so different from her usual weak tremble, she said, Husky, my nickname. Look how tall that man is behind you. I'll never forget. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand straight up, and I was suddenly freezing. I was so scared, my eyes were watering. It felt like the tallest man you've ever seen was bending down from the ceiling over my shoulder. This darkness behind me. It's hard to explain, but I had this odd defiance. I wasn't about to leave her. So instead of turning around and facing the thing I could feel breathing behind me, I forced a smile through my tears and said, "What, ma'am, Mama?" "It's just you and me. You're safe. I promise." And her eyes went back to being foggy. And this seemed to comfort her because she laid back down and closed her eyes. And I continued reading. After I started reading again, whatever it was disappeared. I've never told anyone this story. After that, I've kind of had a different view on what's real and what to get upset about. But I guess when you've been roommates with death, that's kind of expected. I'm sorry this is so long. It's just nice to have a place to share stories like this I've held on to and not feel crazy about sharing. My son reacted to a thought that came across my mind while he was sleeping. My 3-year-old son was sleeping next to me in my bed last night. Let me ask you something. Does anybody else, when really tired, and just as you start to try and go to sleep, get a random word or phrase thrown into your head automatically by a random voice that's louder than your usual thoughts? This usually seems to happen to me as I start to try and sleep. The words or quick phrases never really make sense, and I don't ever feel a presence near me or anything. It's literally just someone else's voice yelling into my mind really quick. Just seems like some weird glitch while my mind is starting to go into sleep mode or something. It doesn't feel paranormal at all. Well, last night, the phrase was by a woman's voice saying, "Enjoy happiness." And right after it was said in my head, my son, sleep talking, said, "I enjoy." Like, as if he was agreeing with the statement. It's just too bizarre to be a coincidence. It's like we had the same thought at the exact same time. I swear, there's so much more to this life than we know. My child might be seeing people, remembering a past life. Not really sure what to make of it. My 4-year-old has a pretty active imagination. Last year, she had a boy she played with named Mega. He was 7 and had a broken leg. He was always around at dinner times and at the playground with her. One day he disappeared. When I asked her, she said, he was dead now, and went away. Now, she's talking a lot about her other grandfather. She's brought him up enough times now over the last few months to shape this character. He lived in another country. He was very witty and funny, always made her laugh, and he had a small dog. She said she doesn't know what happened to him, but she sees a man with a gun, so maybe he was shot. I find this comment very interesting. It's also strange she says grandfather, because she calls my dad and my father-in-law granddad. Another random thing that freaked my mom out is she kept talking about a lady standing behind my mom. This was right after my mom's best friend died of cancer. My daughter repeated a joke that the two shared, and there's no way my daughter, just turned 3 at the time, could have known this. I did go to a medium when she was a baby because I had questions about how my cousin died, and the medium mentions my daughter will be very intuitive and has had many, many lives. I'm not sure what to make of all of this, just looking for some insight. So, you think this is just normal child blabber? Or is there something to this?
Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.